Hey guys, Jaybo785 coming to you today with a little bit of a stand-up comedy routine. Now this is based on a true story between me and my ex-girlfriend and Timmy the Ice Weasel, who I'll be introducing. Now before I start this story, there's a little bit of an introduction that I want to give you because people have asked for centuries, what is love? What does love mean to you? And about the best quote I've ever heard is this: love is like riding a snowmobile down an icy tundra at 100 miles per hour. Inevitably, the snowmobile flips over, trapping you underneath. And at night, the ice whistles come. Now that being said, let's go ahead and start the story. There's a couple main characters of the story that you should know about. There is myself, Jaybo. There is the ex-girlfriend, Lisa. And then there is Timmy, the ice weasel. Now, the story starts off as such. My ex-girlfriend, Lisa, used to work at a nursing home. And one of her favorite residents had just passed away. And for those of that have ever worked in that situation, you become so close to one of those patients that eventually it becomes like losing your own grandma or grandpa. And for those of you that aren't close to your grandma or grandpa, it's a substitution for a missing part of your family. So she came home very upset, and I just wasn't going to allow that to happen. So I tried my very best to put her in a good mood. So at first, I started off by tickling her, which she absolutely freaking hates. And I'm tickling her, she's slapping me, and she's going around. She's like, no, this is up! And I'm like, no, tickle, 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 tickle. And so finally she's like smacking me, and she's like, stop, stop! And she can't breathe. Stop, don't fucking touch me, don't touch me! And so I stopped, and she's like, no more tickles. I'm like, alright, no more tickles. But I didn't say anything about the ice weasels! And so I'm grabbing her sides, and I'm tickling her. That's the sound the ice weasels make. She's slapping me. She's trying to catch her breath. Don't you fucking touch me! I'm like, alright, I won't touch you. She's like, no more tickles, no more tickles, no more ice whistles, no more ice whistles. Except for Timmy, he's a fat bastard. He always comes back for seconds, and I start tickling her again, and I'm pinching her butt. I'm like, the butt's the most tender and juicy part. And so she's just laughing, and she's finally in a better mood. And that was kind of her inside joke between the two of us, was Timmy the ice weasel that always goes after the butt because it's the most tender, juicy part. And he's a fat bastard, so he always has to go back for seconds. And whenever we started to get on a little bit of each other's nerves, you know, or I used to work at a family-owned store, and so she could come in and see me whenever she wanted to, and she would just be bugging me when I was trying to do my job. And so one day I was just like, you see this? You see this? And I started making like a kind of a square with my hands. I'm like, you know what this is? Oh, that's a cage. You know what's in that cage? You know what's in that cage? Timmy. You know what Timmy's been up to? Timmy hasn't eaten for a while and he's starving. I'm like, so I'd act like I'm getting ready to undo the latch of the cage and opening up the door, and then my hand, which is Timmy the ice weasel, be pacing back and forth. He'd be pacing to the back of the cage, he'd be pacing to the front of the cage, and he'd pop out, and then he'd like grab her. You know, and so, our joke was, you know, Timmy's such a fat bastard that if he'd eaten too much, like if I'd been tickling her and really getting on her nerves, and she'd be like, seriously, knock your shit off. Then Timmy was such a fat bastard he couldn't pop out of the cage, so he'd run to the back of the cage, he'd run forward, and bam! He'd smack himself on the head of the rail, or he'd get stuck, and so he'd be kind of like a Nerf ball trying to pop out of a water pipe, you know. And so I just do that kind of thing. And one day she was really getting on my nerves, or you know, she was just in a bad mood. So I'm like, close your eyes, close your eyes, close your eyes. So I put my hand on top of her eyes, and I'm like, you got them closed? Yeah, you got them closed. I take my hand, I put it about an inch away from her nose. I'm like, okay, open up your eyes. She opened up her eyes and kind of go cross-eyed looking at my hand. And I'm like, Timmy watches you while you sleep. And so that was just kind of our inside joke of Timmy the ice weasel. So I hope that you've enjoyed that little stand-up comedy story of myself, guys. And if you've liked it, comment down in the section below, and I'll tell you a couple of my other stories about, like, the night of the living possum that just would not die. And we live out in Kansas, so possums are just a varmint out here that cause a lot of trouble and spread disease, so we have to take care of them. And, you know, if you've enjoyed this story, if you think about implementing the story with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, or your significant other, your wife or your husband, be sure to let me know, because as I say, introduce a little Timmy the ice weasel into your lives. Well, guys, that concludes this story of Timmy the ice weasel. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's made you laugh. I remember I was telling this story to my buddy Eric once when we were driving around. He started laughing that he started to cry, and we actually almost crashed and died, so that was a good time. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. Remember to comment, subscribe, and like. This is Jaybo785 signing off.